Welcome back to Draft Chat. We're here to conclude our run of a couple of different draft people we've had on, conversations centered around it. We're getting here really close to the NBA draft. We're recording this on Wednesday, June 15th. And before we get any further, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest, and then I'll introduce what we're doing. We had to bring him back because we had a lot of fun the first time. A lot of great things at No Ceilings. You guys can see the title. I'm not naive there. But we thought it was only appropriate for our mock and what we would do at these picks. And like I said, we'll explain that in just a second. But the Conductor of Chaos, Mr. Tyler Rucker. Welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me back. I'm honored, and I'm really pumped about this one. I had such a good time the first time. The moment you guys said, "Hey, will you come back on?" I was like, "Absolutely, that's an easy yes." So I'm excited to get after it and talk some more draft. I mean, I can't believe we got a week almost, or what is it, 8 days? I mean, I'm freaking out. See, I'm so excited. I'm already cutting days off, but 8 days. I'm pumped.
Yeah, 7 as of tomorrow, which is that's mind-boggling. Yeah, we even more exciting here. This is obviously what we would do, and Josh told me to explain this. So it's what we would do as these picks. I'll go through the order. I won't go through all of them, but it's going to go Tyler 1, Josh 2, myself 3, because the guest obviously should start the chaos from the beginning, from the get-go. But this is what we would do if we were the GM in these positions. So obviously some of us have written down, maybe we already have our big boards, and they'll go completely public here shortly, or I know Tyler's probably posted some, talked about them, whatever the case may be. But I like it because you're basically having to put your opinion on the line. You're basically like, this is what I would do if I was Detroit. So I'm looking forward to how that goes. But Josh, I know you're excited as well for the draft because, you know, like you said, the lottery finally happened. I'm kidding. I'm done with that joke. So
I mean, I was gonna say it's crazy to me. We're in our last draft chat when we started this. Trevor was like, let's talk about the draft, and I'm like, dude, Carolina's still in the NCAA tournament. I'm not focusing on the draft. And that's how I was for a while. That's wild that we're it's the middle of June. The NBA finals are almost over. And the draft is next week, which honestly, it's crazy to me to think just how quickly like the draft happens after the championship in the NBA, because other leagues just don't do it like that. It's honestly wild.
Some people love it. Some people hate it. I can't figure it out.
I still can't figure out how they, the teams that are in the finals pull that off. Now, I know they're picking usually at the end of the first round, but still, like, imagine just all of a sudden be like, okay, you just lost the NBA finals. The draft's in 2 days. Like, it's unbelievable to me how quick the turnaround is. But hey, I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Well, it was wild. Like, I even remember last year, Popovich and Kerr were in Tokyo coaching the U.S. national team during the draft, and so they're just up at, I don't even know, I think it's probably 8 a.m. in Tokyo, calling in, I guess.
That's right. Wild. I forgot about that because I forgot like Middleton and Booker and them had to fly right after the finals together on the same flight to go to the Olympics. I was like, what an awkward flight. But
I don't think that happens again though, because wasn't that because of the shortened season or something? I hope that doesn't happen again, because that is very, very, like, the NBA is good about some things and scheduling is just not one of them. But that's
because the Olympics start in late July and they kept their normal schedule, but the NBA like pushed the season back and finished in late July. So
that's right.
With the first overall pick, the Orlando Magic take.
Oh boy, here we go. All right, so we're doing what we would do. So I got to put.
If you were the Magic front office.
So I think the Jabari hype is real. From what I've asked around, it sounds like a lot of people around the league really do believe it. And I'm not going to do it, though. For this exercise, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to say Chet Holmgren's going number 1 because that's what I would do. Like I said, I still believe there's a very big chance that it's going to be Jabari. But, I want to shake things up. I'm tired of seeing the same mock draft, same things all the time. And you guys want to have some fun. So let's get after it. I'm going to say Chet Holmgren goes number 1, and all this Jabari buzz is fake, but I just love Chet. I've had a number 1 on my board all year. I just wrote a piece today with Corey at NoCeilingsNBA.com. We talked about why he's just such a fascinating prospect, and guys, I'm shaking it up. You brought me back. I'm going to bring some excitement. So, yeah, I'm going to say Chet, number 1.
Josh, I'm pretty sure that's what we would have done anyway, so it kind of works out well.
Yeah,
we all
that's what I would have done.
Yeah, come on.
I was just thinking smart. You're just crushing the hopes and dreams of Thunder fans everywhere. But
I know. I don't mean to do it, but I also feel like they're going to be happier on draft night when reality kicks in. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's the clear pick. If you're a team like Orlando who has these scattered pieces that are mostly all point guards to build around for the future, just grab the best piece on the board.
I love how you're like, by the way, they're all scattered all over the place, but they're all point guards.
I mean, so you name the prospects in Orlando that they have to build the team around. You got Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs and R.J. Hampton.
Well, I mean, even the Franz Wagner thing's funny because he play makes for them a ton, and it's just very confusing. I'm just intrigued with the Suggs thing. I think I don't care what Vegas thinks. Someone will spend forever on one because people are here to hear more than just one. But I think people need to understand, Suggs and Chet played 3 years of high school together and were very good friends. And I think that Magic may consider something around that. I would, if, like I said, we're doing this, what we would do in that position, regardless of my thoughts on why he's the number 1 prospect. So there's just so many things up in the air, I know, but goodness, thank you for taking what we call the right pick here. I would call this the right pick. I think there's no bad one per se, because, I mean, for a while, Paolo may have gone 1, I know, and then the lottery happened. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right, just Josh. Fascinating. One more thing is it's fascinating that everyone 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago was just convinced of it's Jabari. I'm like, we have a long time to go before we really have this locked in. So I'm not surprised to see the Vegas line is swinging more towards a 50-50, but I'm like you guys. I would be shocked with the Jalen Suggs relationship and the friendship with him and Chet. I mean, they don't have to draft just because of that, but they're going to have some good feedback, some good intel. So that's all I got to say.
I think, too, understanding the point of, I think you made this point the other day on one of your shows. It was when you wake up Monday morning and you start seeing a couple of smoke, not always as their fire. But the point I want people to understand is you have to learn to sift through it and understand what you fully believe. Teams are sending some of these things out. People don't realize. I don't think people understand that. Teams send these things out so that X, Y, or Z, the Giddey thing last year, no one had a darn clue that was happening. Right. And the Thunder probably never really sent anything officially out to try to get the Giddey stuff off the scent, but I think there was some stuff about who they wanted up a little bit further. So I don't know. People need to realize that things are going to happen. Sometimes there is fire. I get it. When there's smoke, there's fire. But people also need to understand these teams have rooting interest here, and their big boards probably look drastically different and who they want where. So
absolutely. I mean, the Magic might have wanted Chet the whole time, and the moment they got the pick said, spread the buzz about Jabari. Let's see if we can get anyone to fight with us and trade up. You never know. So
I'm going to take Jabari Smith to Oklahoma City.
There you go.
You're not even taking your time.
I don't think it's there's a clear top 2 to me, and he left me in the easy spot. I just had to take who he doesn't. Jabari Smith he has the ceiling to be one of the best players in the NBA, if not the best player somewhere down the line. He's incredible on offense and defense, and his length is outrageous. He's going to be a star. There's a reason the Magic are maybe looking at him at number 1 instead of Chet Holmgren, and being just an incredible piece to put at Oklahoma City.
I also love I would lose 5 years to 10 years off of my life if I tried to figure out what Sam Presti does. But beside the point, he also, you can tell he has this archetype of guys that just care about basketball and enjoy it, like the SGA, the Giddies of the world, etc. Jabari Smith's a worker. I mean, for everything I've heard he's just unbelievable worker. First guy in, last guy out. You hear that lazy comparison all the time, but it is true with some of these guys. And there's some guys that I don't necessarily love, and then I hear that about them, and then I'll buy in a little more. I think this year for me it might be Jabari, because I wasn't he's never been number 1 on my board. That's shocker, spoiler, whatever you want to say, because our boards aren't going to be out until Sunday, the day after this pod goes out on Saturday. But Jabari's not 1 or 2 on my board, unfortunately, in this case. So I'm kind of glad you guys got him out of the way. Didn't make me think twice about it, because hard worker, I get it, but a lot of tangibles there. So I'm looking forward to his impact wherever he goes. Anything else on Jabari Smith, the OKC Thunder? Because obviously we're going to spend a lot more time on the Thunder here. Well, we were going to do it 3 times. Unfortunately, one of my Thunder picks got traded. We'll talk about that later, but anything else on Jabari or the Thunder before we move on?
I mean, no, I really like Jabari. I think one of the most fascinating parts about kind of the last month of going back and doing the deep dive on him and all these guys is the defense is really something that deserves a lot more spotlight. I know how good of a 3-point shooter and offensive weapon he could be, but the defense has really been special. And I think he's going to have those tools, like Josh is saying, like to be a star, to be a really, really good player in the league. But he's going to need some time. I still think if he went to OKC, that might be one of his best fits just because they are great at developing and it'll stress patience and they will not rush it. They will be like, hey, you got all the time. Let's just play the long game here. So it'll be interesting if he's number one because guys don't want to admit it, but when you're the number one pick, everyone's paying special attention to you. Even players in the league, they're watching you because you're like, oh, this is the number one pick. Like you get the card as you were the number one pick. So I'm excited. We got 8 days and it's going to be very, very long 8 days. But I still think if he ended up at OKC, that would be my favorite fit for him.
I agree, and I didn't want to spend forever on this, but I'm glad you brought it up, so I'm going to at least say this since you did bring it up.
Yeah.
The concern coming out of Auburn was his point guards were crap. They were. I mean, we can all agree like that was the reason they weren't a national title contender was because their point guards played like crap down the stretch. And the Magic, Josh laid out the case with not saying any of those guys aren't bad by any means. Suggs needs to take that role as a playmaker more. But I think if he goes to OKC, he has a really good point guard. He has the best situation out of those three when it comes to a point guard. And he needs a point guard right now in this stage of his development. So I fear that if he does go one, we may not see the Jabari that we want to in the career development necessarily early on. And that's what I'm really nervous about is that we see this just Auburn repeat from there to Orlando. Obviously, they have time to figure it out. They've got a lot of great point guards. Cole Anthony could become way better, taking the ball up, that kind of thing. But I'm just fearful of that, and I'm glad you both kind of tied it together there, and I just wanted to make that known that people need to realize the Auburn situation was real when it comes to the point guard problem. So,
absolutely, 100%. It's definitely like I feel like each of these guys has that narrative that's getting hammered home when it comes to like either weaknesses or kind of giving them a little bit of not an excuse, but with Jabari, it's the point guard play at Auburn. I think it gets a little bit overblown, but it wasn't great. But yeah, if he went to OKC, that would be a different dimension for him compared to what he just played with. So, and even Orlando could be good. We never know what Suggs could do in year 2, like you're saying. So, be interesting, but.
And I still wouldn't count out Cole Anthony in Orlando
as
a guy that I was incredibly down on coming into the league because of really just how he didn't mesh as a fit in the Carolina system in college. He is probably best as a combo guard, but he can initiate offense. He can get things happening. I think he's probably one of the spots Orlando will look to long term, and so I think they've got a good situation there. And then like you see in OKC, Giddey and SGA are both ball handler playmakers that can open things up.
I agree with everything y'all said, so I think it's time to go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off with the number 3 to get this draft completely just rolling off the tracks with the train here. So I won't.
You're going off the rails with this?
No, after this. No, after this.
After this, it starts.
Okay, after this, it goes off.
Because I think it's hilarious that Tyler goes from getting potentially one of the easiest choices to probably the hardest. So I think it's fun. I want to go ahead and get mine out of the way. I think we being all three of us at any point this cycle, I think we've all spent plenty of time on these top 3. Plus, you got to realize once they get drafted in the top 3, we're going to talk about them after the draft a bunch.
Right.
So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Paolo Banchero is the best pick here. In terms of fit, I don't want to spend a bunch of time on Paolo. I do want to spend time on introducing the fact that I think that's the best fit for him out of all those 3. And it just kind of, the Rockets fans can, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, quoting Josh on our Trippy finale yesterday. But spoiler, I guess. People have already heard it by now. Whatever. Paolo is the best fit, and then they're happy. They should be happy and lucky to get them there and be ready to build that team, get a good point guard, and keep rolling in the development. I like where they are.
It's my favorite fit for him. I really do believe that's if he goes to Houston, that's probably the best spot for Paolo, and I think for the Rockets and what they need, it's a perfect marriage. Hopefully it happens. You never know. I feel like it's just funny with the top 3. I feel like we've been talking about it for months and months and months. And it's like, is this going to actually happen? Or is something going to go crazy on the draft night where it's just, if one of those guys doesn't go in the top 3, it could just send the whole night to an absolute, madness level. So, it's still like in some combination, I still think Paulo at 3 is my favorite fit for Houston, and Jabari to OKC or Chet, just one of those guys. OKC's in a great spot, but Paulo at 3, I still love that.
Josh, anything
This is the pick, honestly, that I'm most certain about happening. I think I can't tell you what's going to happen at 1-2. I can tell you Paolo Banchero is going to go at 3 to the Rockets. It's kind of just seemed to be a foregone conclusion. Houston has kind of been very open about loving him. Paolo has kind of been very open about liking Houston and wanting to go there. It's feels like it's set in stone, but then you never know what might happen.
This is where I'm just...
You guys had to do this. This is why you only brought me on, just to get a little quote about what I say for the Kings.
Well, it's because the two of us have talked about the Kings draft pick on our podcast for like the past 2 or 3 weeks over and over, so we couldn't have us answering it again.
Josh's best segment, he's being humble. Josh's best segment idea he's had in a long time, we call it Saving Sacramento. Every week
that's good.
We realized that we would be better at fixing the Kings front office than the Kings front office is, so...
I like this. Okay, well, whatever direction I'm going to go, you guys got to let me know what your honest thoughts were. Because I've changed my mind probably in the last 2 weeks 58 times.
Me too. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, so someone, I feel like it was Bill Simmons or something, was like, everyone that doesn't watch or focus on the draft is going to say the draft starts at 4. And I was like, are you kidding me? People that are obsessed with the draft are going to say that it starts at 4. Like, it's rocket science. Like, we understand where it's starting. Gosh. And Gavoni's really mock draft today throws me for a curve now.
Don't think about the breadcrumbs too much, because this is truly what you want. Like, I know what you're talking about.
Well, just go ahead and say what we're talking about, is that the rumor is Jaden Ivey doesn't want to play in Sacramento.
What I would do, I'm going to take Keegan Murray. That's what I would do for the Kings. So there you go. If you wanted anarchy, that's my anarchy. If I was the Kings, I would be taking Keegan Murray. Now, I have Jaden Ivey higher on my board, but I love Keegan Murray, and I just think that's the pick the Kings don't make. Is getting the guy that's the high intangibles. Maybe you're not swinging for the fences with like another superstar potential guy, but you're getting a culture guy where it's shifting the momentum of the franchise. You're getting a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to do anything I can for us to win. And I don't think the Kings have taken those guys over the years. They just got a tough guy in Davion Mitchell. And now you're going to pair him potentially with Keegan Murray. They still got De'Aaron Fox. Now they got Sabonis. I just, I like that core. And I'm warming up to the Jaden Ivey idea. But you guys want some chaos? There you go. That's what I would do.
I'm laughing because the Kings did take a guy who would say verbatim over and over, I'll do whatever it takes to win in Sacramento. And then they traded him to Indiana.
And then they traded him. And he was one of my favorite prospects in that draft.
He was the only person who was like vocally bought into Sacramento, and they're like, no, we don't need any of that in our organization. So
the funniest was today we were literally talking about the Kings after that. For No Ceilings, we were talking about the Kings in our group chat. And I go, imagine if they didn't trade Halliburton and they got the 4th pick, what position they would be in right now. They'd be like, oh my gosh, what are we supposed to do? We have Fox, Halliburton, Davion Mitchell. Are we going to take just 4 backcourt guys? So I don't know what they're going to do. I think there's a real chance they try to trade out because they're probably freaking out. But, if they like Keegan Murray and Vivek likes Keegan Murray, we saw what he's done with Stauskas before. But I also like that pick there. I really do, because I think that's him and Sabonis. I think it's a better fit than some people are questioning. Keegan Murray had a heck of a year, and I still think people are overthinking the age factor. He was a sophomore. Like, I know he's an older sophomore, but he was a sophomore.
Yep.
And he can do a lot of things that the Kings need. So there you go, guys. I'm getting a little wild.
I don't want to spend forever on this because I think I agree. I think it's a good pick. The issue I'm having, and there's a lot of teams. Now, maybe not this draft necessarily, because there's a lot of teams that are in really good positions, and this is just a good draft to be in the top 3. Obviously, we've already talked about that. I've always said, if you're a crap team, you can't draft for positional need.
No, absolutely.
You
I agree.
have to draft best. Sometimes it's just better to take the best guy, and the cookie can crumble. And in this case, if that's who they think the best guy, that's my only pushback would be if Ivey's the best guy, take him.
Right.
If not, but this is the most almost Kings thing to do, where it's like everyone thinks they're going to take Ivey, and they're like, hold my beer.
Yes.
But and that's great. I've come around more on Keegan Murray. You can thank Stephen Gillespie for that. I've told him that many times, so thank you. But yeah, that would be my only pushback. Is just there's not a lot of quote crap teams per se in the top 14 this year. It's not. There's like this weird gap where it's like, all right, cool. There's the obvious teams that suck, and then there's like these teams that are a couple good pieces away. And I think the Kings aren't one of those teams. So you just take the best guy, and if Ivy's the best guy, great. But
well, you see, that's the difference. The Kings think they're a couple pieces away because that's what we've been told. Exactly. The front office thinks they're in a win now situation,
which is why I think Keegan's a great choice.
Yeah, and I'm coming around on Keegan Murray. I can't understand why. I'm still in a dissonant place where, from the eye test and when I watched him play at Iowa, and I had heard all of these great things, I'll admit I didn't watch a ton of Iowa basketball throughout most of the season. When I started to watch him play in the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA tournament, I was like, I just don't get it with him. Like, he's not blowing me away in how he looks on paper, and I didn't feel good about a 6'8" power forward in the NBA. But I see his numbers are just outrageous. Like, his shooting numbers are outrageous. All of his analytical stuff is crazy. It was like Nikola Jokic numbers in college almost, like from an analytics standpoint.
He's one of those guys that if you go watch throughout the year, he was jaw-dropping. Mm-hmm. If you watch the tournament, he was downhill a little bit on the tournament because I think his legs were shot. He was carrying that team. He just ran out of gas. And you understand from like the numbers he put up and how much he carried the load for that Iowa team. But he's, I've talked about it. I said, I think people are down on him because he's boring. Like, he is boring to watch compared to these guys because like Duncan, I'm not comparing him to Tim Duncan, but like Tim Duncan was just like, he wasn't a guy you'd ever watch and be like, I really want to get excited. I'm going to watch Tim Duncan play. Like, Duncan was just a slow technician that picked you apart. And I think Keegan does that, where it's like, I'm going to back you down. I'm going to pass it out, reposition, get the ball again, slowly attack you and hit you with hesitation and a little jump hook. And it's like, that's boring. Like, we all want to watch Shaedon Sharpe where he's throwing 360s down and transition stuff. But I think that's just Murray's craft is he's a guy that was not a big time recruit. He grew a lot. So he's a 6'8" guy with point guard, or guard handles. And I just think it's one of those, it's not sexy, but he's going to be a grab his lunch pail and top hat and go to work every day. So I've been a guy that I was like, they're not going to take Ivy. Now I'm like, I really am intrigued with them taking Ivy. But, I still could see Murray making some sense there because I agree with you guys. I think you got to take the best player. But if the Kings are like, hey, we need to make a push towards playoffs, I could see them taking Murray because they'd be like, he's going to slide right in at power forward. He's going to be a really good player. It's close on our big board, but, now we got a better starting five. But I don't know.
Or maybe slide into small forward and make him move on from Harrison Barnes.
I mean, maybe. I just think he's one of those, like, he's undersized for power forward, maybe. But I think he's lengthy. He can guard multiple positions. Him and Sabonis would be fun. But
Sabonis can pass, too. Like, I think people underestimate that, which obviously they have De'Aaron Fox.
He's a European big man. Of course he can pass. I'm just kidding. No, shocking joke.
He can pass, and I think Keegan Murray would benefit from that.
It would be interesting, but yeah. I'm sorry to throw us off the rails earlier than you guys expected.
We're here.
No, I thought there was a possibility that could happen, which it kind of makes my decision pretty easy. I'm going to go into this is kind of, I think, the best case scenario maybe on draft night for Detroit.
Yeah, me too. 100%.
You pick up,
I agree.
Jaden Ivey.
So I thought you were going to say all this and be like, they take Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah.
You're going to pick up Jaden Ivey. A backcourt mate that can do the bulk of the bringing the ball down, allow Cade to open himself up more as a scorer and less of having to be a playmaker for the future. And it's a backcourt mate that isn't named Killian Hayes for the future. So it's a great situation for Detroit. I think that one opens it pretty easily, yeah.
We all saw that Killian Hayes workout video. No, that's not. I'm kidding. That's not what we're here for. I did see one the other day, and I was like, "How do you tell Twitter not to show you this again?"
Gosh, amazing!
I'm so sick.
I didn't see that one yet, but I don't know if I need to.
Yeah. This is Josh said it already. This is my dream scenario for Detroit. I don't think this could be any better. Like, you're getting a guy where off the ball he can be amazing, and on the ball he can also be eventually amazing. And I just did let Cade still be a playmaker and Jaden Ivey try to work off the ball some. I think this is just a perfect scenario. I don't have a ton on this because I've made this case before. I think it's a really good pick because of the fit for a while, and also we're averaging like 5.5 minutes a pick. So that's all I have to say on that. Detroit, that's a great choice. I do think that is a good choice, Josh.
How much would that be over 30 picks?
A lot. So
we don't have to go that crazy. I will say I think this could be the 5 players that go if there's no trade in the top 5. Now I could see 4 and 5 being switched, but I think this could be the 5. So
I've also seen a scenario where Detroit, I don't remember who they picked in the situation. I think they might get both Murray but I saw a trade today from somebody I trust in the draft world, and it was like they swap, like you said. So Detroit gets 4 and 5. They leverage Jeremy Grant and future picks. Obviously, I think you're swindling somebody a little bit in that situation if you're getting 4 and 5, but 4 and 5, and they get basically at that point they get Ivy and then whoever the heck they want. I don't remember who they took now. I think it might have been Murray, but either way, they get.
There's going to be some crazy trade. There's some buzz building right now, and that's we're usually like in 3 or 4 more days. All of a sudden, something's going to happen. We're going to be like, all right, there goes all of our mock drafts. Thanks a lot, guys.
It's and speaking about, and I'll talk about it later more, I guess, when we get to that point, but like Jonathan Gavoni's mock draft today feels like it just dropped a lot of bombs with inside information. Because like I learned things about the Hornets that I was like, wait, what? It's like I hadn't heard this anywhere, and he's saying it just matter of factly. And I was like, oh, well, that changes everything I thought. So
yeah, I'm excited.
You get a lot of juice this time of the year, so then you keep waiting to see if the juice comes back around, and once it does, you're like, okay, I guess I can maybe leak this a little bit because there's some legs to it. So, okay, I'm trying to go quick too for you guys. I don't want to have a 5-hour podcast.
I just know it'll get weirder and wilder here very quickly, so that's why I was like, the top 3 is the top 3.
Trevor gets to pick now for the poor Indiana Pacers.
Yes.
So the other thing too, by the way, though, Josh said something about the Hornets Giovoni thing. I think it's interesting to note now ahead of time. Tyler, I hope you are looking forward to having a conversation with me about it because Josh doesn't get a Hornets pick in this draft. He unfortunately got stuck with 14, and you and I got lucky with 13 and 15.
Love this.
I look forward to talking about the Hornets with you.
Yes.
Anyway, so number 6. I was actually going to do this regardless because I went down a very, 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 very long and dark rabbit hole the other day in my thoughts around this. And this is what I think they absolutely should do, and this is what I think that I would do in this same situation. And I think they would take Dyson Daniels.
Interesting. I like this.
The fit with Daniels in Indiana, where Tyrese Halliburton, we mentioned the thing about like letting Cade open up, etc. Tyrese doesn't need to have the ball all the time. He's great. Like he can do other things, and he has shown that. Not a bunch, because as soon as he got to Indiana, he had to do everything. But I think he's a great fit. Daniels, I believe more in the last 30 days in the shot developing than I did 30 days before that. I'm still not like completely sold he's going to be a 35% 3-point shooter by any means, but I do think everything else is there. Everything else shows me that he can average 15, 7, 7, and 1.2 steals, maybe a block. Like, just they need a guy that can just be all reliable. What they thought maybe Malcolm Brogdon could have been a while back, but they don't want to pay him for that 4-year contract. So I think Dyson Daniels is a great pick here.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think that's where his potential run could really heat up and get serious. I could see that being an Indiana Pacers pick for sure. The Brogdon thing is going to be interesting this offseason. I really do feel like there's been too much smoke that they're going to probably try to trade him. And replacing him with a bigger, much, much younger version of that would probably be smart. So I also just love the idea of him and Halliburton playing together would be amazing. So keep it short, guys. I'll keep it short.
It's even better though. Like Josh, our big boards aren't going to be public till the day after this pod, so this is really interesting from listeners' perspective because I'm not going to say where I have him. That's not where I have him, but I don't think I can pass up a fit where in that same range. I don't know if Matherin's the pick. Shaden Sharp, maybe they want a more. They're not. He's not a very Indiana guy when it comes to like taking this huge swing on a question mark. You've already taken Keegan Murray, who I thought would have been a good pick there too. Duran seems too high, and then at that point you're picking between like Daniels and Griffin and all that stuff. So, or Davis and Griffin and Daniels. So, it just for me it was the fit.
And I think more importantly, looking at this from Indiana's perspective, this would be an indication that Indiana is finally like acquiescing to the full rebuild. I don't think Dyson Daniels' first year in the NBA is going to be particularly good by an all metric standpoint. Like he's going to show flashes, he's going to show all the potential he has. I think this is a good pick, but he's not an efficient shooter right now. At least that he wasn't with G League Ignite. He's gonna take some time to develop, which isn't something that Indiana has historically done. They've very much been all right, let's reload and get the 6th seed in the East and give it our best shot every year. But this is kind of an indication that they're gonna take some time. I think it's a good idea for them, so I think it's a good pick. But
the preposterous, I think that's the right word in this situation. I don't even know, because Portland's such a very, very interesting situation. So, with the 7th overall pick, the Portland Trailblazers either completely tear things down and get rid of Damian Lillard in your eyes, or I'm just kidding. All right, what do the Portland Trailblazers do realistically?
You guys got me some really just brutal selections that have been giving me headaches this whole process.
The cookie did crumble that way very, very
yes,
a lot.
Yes, it did.
It did.
Yes, it did.
Semi-unintentionally, but
boy, where am I thinking here?
I do appreciate you actually sitting here. Like, I thought some of these picks were already made up. Obviously, you can only go so much on how the things fall.
Yeah, well, now
you're actually struggling. You're
because I wanted to go one way, and now I'm like, no, I don't really know if I want to go that way. Gosh, guys.
Some teams you could do that though. Some teams there's this is exactly what I would do if he's here, and this is one of those situations where there's too many choices almost.
Right. Oh gosh, you guys are driving me crazy.
That's why I'm get this one.
Yeah. I'm gonna say they. Oh gosh, I can't believe it. I'm gonna say they take Benedict Mathurin.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And I don't love it because I was going between two guys, but the other one I just can't convince myself that that's what's going to happen at 7. So Mathurin's apparently been dominating the pre-draft process. He's been interviewing well, and I heard this before even reading Gavoni's thing. I'd been hearing Mathurin's really having a strong process with the whole entire draft, and people were like, he ain't getting out of the top 10. And I was like, okay, I can see that. And then they're like, no, he's really buzzing. I was like, all right. So, I don't know if Portland's going to be the team. I could see it being Indiana if they didn't go Daniels. But for now, I still think that could be intriguing. I was thinking maybe Duren here. That was the one I was like, well, do I really want to shake it up? But I feel like I gave you guys the stroke at number 4, so I don't want to go too crazy. But no, I like the idea of Mathurin there in Portland because he's nasty. Dame would love him. They would get a nice little, mentality of some attitude in the right way in that backcourt, and Mathurin's going to compete. So I like that pairing, and that's where I'm going right now. I do think they're going to trade it somehow, and that's going to be the team that throws a wrench in everyone's mock drafts from the last 2 months. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Josh, you go ahead and roll right into number 8 because you've got a very interesting team here.
Yeah.
Almost made it to the second round this year, by the way.
This kind of sucks as a spot because it's looking at New Orleans' roster. There's not a lot of things they need to necessarily become a contender. And building their depth chart, I mean, you got McCollum, Ingram, currently Herb Jones. You hope Zion Williamson at the 4. Valanciunas, you can bring Devontae Graham and Jose Alvarado, Larry Nance, Jackson Hayes. So my biggest concern for New Orleans currently taking that next step is they don't really have a true point guard. I think the closest thing they've got is Devontae Graham, probably. I don't know if that's a long-term solution there, especially considering that Devontae's quite undersized for the NBA, just as a whole. So I'm going to have New Orleans taking a huge risk at number 8 and take a guard who they say has good ball handling skills, is more comfortable with it, even though he's listed at shooting guard, and have New Orleans take Shaedon Sharpe at number 8.
Okay, so I'm perplexed.
The word out on Sharpe is that he is very comfortable with the ball in his hands, and the hope would be he could quickly transition into that ball handler in New Orleans.
So I'm perplexed by this. I agree with you. I don't have a ton on that because I think at this point this is probably the farthest he should absolutely fall if somebody's not trading up.
I mean, I could see it go further.
Well, that, but like New Orleans would also be happy with a trade back. They absolutely would.
And I think like the best case scenario for New Orleans here might be a Dyson Daniels, maybe.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think this is the lowest, like this is the floor for Daniels. I think probably he's definitely risen up, and I think this is a low point guard ball handler kind of draft. We don't have a lot of those guys up there. And New Orleans being one of the teams up there that really needs one, I think they would grab Daniels if he's still there at this point.
That was my question. That was literally what I was going to ask. Would you have taken Daniels if he was on the board?
And instead of Sharp, absolutely.
Okay, Tyler, anything on Shaedon Sharpe? I think it's a weird one, but I mean, at that point, they're already winning and they're already contributing, as we saw against Phoenix. I don't think he hurts by any means. If you're going to get a superstar to replace CJ, if you don't want to pay him full term later, I think perfect.
That'd probably be a good fit for him, just because that's a team that's got a lot of veteran and the right mentality. And he wouldn't be, rushed into the action. They could develop him to be that long-term guy. I still think maybe it could be too enticing for New Orleans to pass that up. I agree with Josh, though. It wouldn't shock me if he slides a little bit, just because I think after you get past like 7, I could see some teams being like, do we want to play the long-term game, or do we want to try to, New Orleans might be like, hey, we want to compete now. Like, this is our window. We got a shot to make some noise next year. But they could still also be just saying, hey, this is the best guy on our board. So Sharpe's going to be interesting. There's been a lot of – the range is getting wilder with him. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what the buzz is about the next couple of days.
There's a real case where Oklahoma City could leave with him at 12. Like, I totally see that happening potentially, whether they move up a few spots or whether teams, like you said, as soon as you get past 8, I just don't know who really wants that swing. And Oklahoma's like, yes, we'll go. Right. We'll gladly take Chet or Jabari and Shaedon Sharpe. Like, are you kidding me? That's some people's, like, 2 of the top 5. Like, that's nuts. Anyway. Yeah,
I mean, especially with teams like San Antonio at 9, Washington at 10. If Sharpe's on the board, they might be like, hey, whoever wants him, come get him. Like, it's exactly where they might call Sam Presti and be like, if you want him, you can have him, but you got to come up.
I definitely see Washington being one to do that. Because I think that their whole play might be, okay, how do we convince Brad Beal to stay? Like, what do we do to entice that he's going to have a winner around him in Washington? And they may do that trade back to bring in somebody like...
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll preface this real quick. So Josh was like, I don't remember how you exactly worded about New Orleans at 8, but basically you kind of like didn't seem thrilled about having New Orleans there. I have to take the San Antonio Spurs pick, first of all. That's not a good place to be in. We have no idea. They took Josh Primo last year, or whatever year, the year before that.
This is what you would do, not what Pop would do.
Oh, I know. And this is why I'm going to take the pick, and we can just roll if we want, because I have made my thoughts to you two and the public very clear on Mark Williams. This is obviously what I would do here, and I'm not taking Mark Williams. Let me go ahead and say that. What I am going to say is I'm not naive to understand Jalen Duren's ceiling is just through the top of – I don't even know where the Spurs play anymore. I can't even think of the name. Whatever, the AT&T Center. The ceiling is just stupid on Jalen Duren, and I would be dumb to take Williams despite my thoughts on him. So I'm going to take Jalen Duren where everybody absolutely think – at one point mocked this for about a month.
Yes.
And I know he's fallen. I know he's come up a little bit. I know he's basically fluctuated all over the board just based on pure shooting.
I'd love it if he'd fall to 13. But
100%. And look, he very well could. So my point is I'm going to do what I would do here and not be naive and say I'm getting a preseason top 5, 6 for me especially, projected type player at number 9. And I'm going to be happy with the potential moving forward with Pop stepping down eventually. So I have to just take the pick that I think we all probably would have taken there.
I like it. That's another guy that I've heard good things about the, pre-draft process. So I could see San Antonio liking him there.
He'll be 18 years old when he plays his first NBA game. That's the other thing. I can't sugarcoat that. He'll be a great guy to play right behind Jakob Poeltl, play 24 minutes a game, and just learn. That's all you got to do. Just learn.
Yeah. And he's everything that a lot of these I don't want to say it, but I mean, like, from a physical standpoint, he's everything that Chet Holmgren isn't. He's 250 pounds coming out of college. I don't think he's So I'm kind of making fun of these stupid Chet Holmgren's going to get pushed around in the NBA things, but, like, Jalen Duren's not going to get pushed around. He's bigger than most of the guys he's going to step on the court with immediately. He's going to be pushing everyone else around at 18 years old. I think it's going to be intriguing to see. I think some of his early play will probably be very sloppy. Kind of like It's a different player, but I remember Jackson Hayes first coming into New Orleans. Everything was very sloppy for him. He was not very well polished, very well developed at the beginning. And he's slowly started to kind of pick those things up as time's gone along. I think Duran will be sloppy, but I mean, he's an athletic freak. It's what anybody should do. That's
Are we ready to... This is where the lottery kind of gets crazy, and then all of a sudden I think there'll be less debate outside the lottery. It'll just be more of like, this is what I would do and here's why, and bum, 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 bum. Number 10, this is kind of the last weird, like, perplexing, like, I don't really understand what's going to happen even up until 5 seconds before it happens. So I'm curious, again, where you got the wrong cookie crumbling here with Washington, but go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I hate projecting this because I feel like this is the part where it's just like, okay, who's the best guy on the board? Let's just put him at Washington. But I still think, if Johnny Davis was there, I would be taking him. So I'm going to go ahead and take him for the Wizards. I love Johnny Davis. I think he should go earlier than this. He's also just one of those guys I could see all he's got to do is convince one of those teams. And if he's in this range, I think there's going to be a lot of teams trying to get up and get him if, say, the Wizards don't want him. So, yeah, I'll stop the fall if we're calling it that. So I'm going to take him at 10 to the Wizards.
As long as he doesn't leave the draft to go get a taco before, right?
Exactly. That's all we got to worry about with him.
That commercial's been played too many times, and the draft's still a week away.
Way too many.
And the draft's still an entire week away.
Yeah, don't we love living in NIL, everyone right now?
All right. I am now even just as intrigued with Washington with New York. I forgot New York was at 11 with Josh here, so I take back what I said about Washington being the last really weird one. Because after that, it's OKC, Charlotte, Cleveland, Charlotte.
So I kind of thought I was going to be able to pick Johnny Davis for the next year. I would have. Oh
yeah, sorry.
I would have really wanted to put him there with RJ Barrett. I thought it would have gone perfectly to put him with RJ Barrett. He's also another one of those picks I could see Knicks fans booing if they get, even though it's a good selection. I think this one is going to be a bit of more of a flashy pick. The Knicks will probably fall in love with on draft night. I don't like him a ton, but I think that had more to do with when he was like being considered a top 6. But I'm going to take AJ Griffin at 11.
It's a good pick.
I want to pause for a second because this is where I had 2 questions for this draft.
Okay.
In this range for you specifically, Josh, I'm curious too. 2 questions. This is one of them. I actually could have asked the other one at 7, but I'm going to ask it when that guy goes that the question is about.
Okay.
At 11, with AJ Griffin, he is, quote, sliding because a lot of people for a long time had him, 6, 7 at the worst. What is his absolute... Because I can't assume he's going in the top 10 anymore. Obviously, based on plenty of mocks, plenty of info, our mock now, he's gone outside the top 10. So let's say in the lottery, because I don't think he leaves the lottery. Like, I really don't think that happens. Whatever you feel is fit-based, where's his absolute best fit in the lottery to a team based on what we know now? Because I genuinely cannot figure it out. That is the struggle with me. That's why I wasn't picking AJ Griffin at any point today. So I'm glad one of you two did.
I would probably say New Orleans for AJ.
Okay, I like that.
The problem is we got through our top 5, and then you've got Daniels, Mathurin, Sharp, Duran, Johnny Davis, AJ Griffin, Branham could be in that conversation, and Sohan. So we've got all those guys with not a lot of picks left. So one of them's going to slide, or, one of them's going to fall because, I might have a guy at 7 and somebody else has him at 13. And that's just the range of the draft where things are going to get a little crazy. And we haven't even brought up a guy like Ousmane Dieng. So, and he's been getting some buzz in the top 10. Yeah, no, I'm saying he's been getting a lot of buzz.
I'm a big fan of it.
People are like, top 10, don't be shocked. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So it's going to be crazy. And AJ, he could go 7th or he could go 12th, and it wouldn't shock me because his medicals were always going to be in question. I haven't heard anything bad. I just think it's one of those, he had a weird year where people were like, okay, he can shoot, but are we buying the rest of the game coming out? And it's like, it's not like he was a lockdown defender. He's still got some questions there. So it's just going to be fit dependent. Someone's going to really need hey, we need a shooter. Okay, AJ was a really good shooter. He's one of the better ones last year. So I think New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans or the Knicks would probably be my favorite ones. And if he got to 12, I don't think Presti would pass it.
Bingo.
Unless
that's it. There's the one.
Yeah. If Presti passed it, that's
there's
a red flag. Like there's that's where like you're watching the draft and you're like, all right, something happened. And that also might be a report that comes out 2 days before or something. You never know.
Right. Worst shooting team. He'd be there. Question marks in the future. Young guy. Presti's perfect guy. Right there. Like
right.
Yeah. All right. So I like the New Orleans pick. Josh, was there any contrary, or did you agree with both of those?
I mean, my
and then we can
thought also went to maybe Portland, even though it's too high. I feel like they could use that other shooter to put in the lineup, and that's something they could adapt to very well. I do like Mathurin better for them. But no, otherwise, I agree with everything Tyler says.
I had a couple of things here with OKC, so I'm really glad I wanted at least one OKC pick, and I did have. It actually had the potential to have two, and then they traded the 30th, so it'll be the Denver Nuggets there at 30. But there's two guys here for me. The problem is this is what we would do. So what I think probably happens is something like a Jeremy Sohan. However, we will talk about him when he comes up, because I think what I would do in this situation is take Ousmane Dieng. I don't think they're hurting enough in the big man department right this moment. I think they obviously could very well take Mark Williams. I almost did it, I'll be honest with you, as somebody who's been a truther for a long time. But I also have a Charlotte Hornet pick, so I'm just going to go ahead and spoil that now. Don't be shocked if he gets taken there. Anyway, I really think Ousmane Dieng's got some really unbelievable potential, and I'm buying into that potential. My thing is he's a lot younger, and I have time with him. With Mark Williams, I don't want to waste anything that I think he could actually contribute 25 minutes for a good team right this moment. Ousmane Dieng can't do that, and I think the Thunder is a perfect place for him.
I like him. That's my favorite fit for him, because it's the long-term game. It's the no rush, take your time, because he's been on fire when it comes to his draft stock, but I think he's also going to be a guy where if you're expecting him to be a serious contributor as a rookie, you're going to have a rude awakening, because he's just going to need a lot of confidence to be installed, and he's going to need a lot of patience and Oklahoma City would be great for him. I'm a little nervous someone takes him and tries to throw him into the fire, and that's going to be a rude awakening, but there's no doubt that he's got the tools and the talent and the upside. It's just, you got to be really patient with it.
I still have a couple more days to finalize the comparisons, because that's something I do, like I told you last time we had you on, that some people do them, some people don't. It helps me compartmentalize the potential future for somebody like him, and I genuinely have zero comp for him. So we're 3 days from our big boards being live. So that's going to be a lot of fun the next 3 days. Anyway, at 13, the first pick of the Charlotte Hornets, unfortunately for Josh, is not Josh. Our guest gets to
I don't know what I would take here, so I'm glad I'm not doing it.
All right. Our first pick for the Charlotte Hornets gets to be taken by our guest.
I can't. I've gone too far in the draft season doing this, so I can't not do it. I have to say Mark Williams. I'm sorry. I got to do it. Yes. Sorry. It doesn't feel right with him on the board and me trying to be like, I could go another way. But there's other guys I was considering, but I don't think they would go that way first in case somehow someone wants to try to get up to Cleveland to prevent that, from happening. Like maybe someone tries to trade up. Say Charlotte somehow kept both picks and they want Mark Williams, but they're like, maybe we could wait till 15, and then they don't take him, and someone tries to trade up with Cleveland and it's like, hey, we want Mark Williams. Like, let us get ahead of the Hornets. We'll overpay.
It's not going to be Cleveland that takes Mark Williams.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they might be like, let's don't mess around here. But
I laid that case out on I appeared on the Swarm and Sting show which is a fan-sided show, and I'm not a Hornets fan. Josh couldn't make it, unfortunately, that day. And I laid out
incredibly ironic.
I laid out the case for taking. I don't want to spoil anything, but I laid out the case for them waiting on Mark Williams till 15 because of somebody. I just don't see a huge trade up for him, maybe, but it could happen, obviously. But I think there's a guy that they would want to take there to take him from Cleveland, and I won't spoil that, like I said, since Cleveland is next. But yeah, I laid that case out, and I absolutely agree with that. I think they consider maybe not taking Mark Williams and getting a guy they absolutely know they cannot leave the draft one more pick later without.
So, to kind of talk about what we alluded to earlier, I don't know what to think with these picks now, because I don't know where Charlotte's going to pick on draft night based on what Gavoni said.
Yeah.
That most league front offices are under the impression, Charlotte's not going to be picking twice in the first round. So what it tells me is one of two things. Either with a lot of guys in the 6 to 10 range, teams that seem like they want to move back, Charlotte's thinking about packaging 13 and 15 for one of those 6 to 10. Or the buzz around going after a Rudy Gobert, a DeAndre Ayton. There, by the way. Yeah. Even if it's a Jakob Poeltl, and that's going to be moving out at least one of the picks, is something that we're going to hear about in the coming days. So if that happens, really anything we talk about for the Hornets picking is kind of out the window.
We had James Plowright on the No Ceilings podcast last night, and he told us right away, he said, I don't think you're going to keep both picks. And we were like, whoa, okay. And then literally Gavoni came out with that this morning, and I was like, okay, well, either Gavoni's stealing invits from our podcast or no. But it was interesting because I was like, I could see that, because I think also yesterday morning, I think Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report was like, hey, Charlotte's looking at trying to potentially move one of those picks for a veteran big man. And he threw around Miles Turner. And I was like, okay, so there's some buzz. No pun intended. There's really is some buzz about this, like, which that's the part of the year where it's like, if you're getting enough smoke with that, where it's coming around a lot, it's like, okay, there might be something legit going on there. But I also, for Charlotte, I could see it, because I could see them saying, we need vets. We need guys that are going to help us now. Maybe they don't try to get like Rudy Gobert, but maybe they're trying to get someone. Yeah.
They're a front office that plans on, I mean, they wanted to take the leap this year, right? Because that's the reason James Borrego is no longer the head coach. It's because the leap wasn't made, even though they had a winning record. So it's not a team, and it does make the most sense. It's why I was always mocking Okai Agbaji to Charlotte, because it's not a player you have to develop.
Right.
It's a player you can just bring in and slot on the team. They don't want to bring in two guys to develop. Yeah, it's just not something that's going to happen. But I think what's going to be tough coming down the hill is, of any of the GMs, Mitch Kupchak's not going to get swindled on a trade. He has stood pat and not traded instead of losing a trade in the past. I think, the best example is that the trade deadline move that he made was to trade Ish Smith, Vernon Carey, and a second-round pick for Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
He traded two guys he doesn't play and a second-round pick he didn't need for a big man to play all the time.
Right.
So it's just some of these mocks that I see that have Charlotte, giving up a lot, like giving up a PJ Washington and a first-round pick and Terry Rozier. It's just, that's just not going to happen. He would rather not do it than do that. So,
all right. Those always sound better until you get to realistic. It's like, well, would you do it if you were on the other side? Would you do it? And then everyone's like, no. And I was like, well,
it's Kevin O'Connor coming out with his stupid asking Lakers fans, so would you swap Russ right now for Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier? And I'm like, hold on, Charlotte's not doing that. I don't know where this conversation's coming from.
They would. With Charlotte? No.
No. He gets fun liberties to be able to throw stuff out.
Yeah.
It's just, I saw that and I'm like, what? I'm not certain they do Rozier for us straight up. I know that's not going to happen.
I might have Rozier.
So. Maybe Gordon for Russ. That's the swap.
That could be interesting.
Let's round out the lottery. Let's see, I had to double check who has it.
I do.
Josh, got the lottery with.
All right. I think this is going to be a really good move for Cleveland. It's not necessarily a sexy pick. I don't hear the guy talked about a lot. But we're going to go Malachi Branham at 14 and get just a really good scorer at a 2. I think kind of to counter, Isaac Okoro is very much, currently kind of plays the 2 for Cleveland. He's a heavy defensive guy. He's great on the defensive end. Probably not the most efficient scorer. And I think Branham can provide that 2-guard scoring. Plus, there you go, hometown, Ohio State player goes to Cleveland. So you get that as well.
Well, I don't want to spend forever on this because this is where the lottery ends, and then I hate to say chaos because we have you on, but the chaos begins because this is where
it's been chaotic.
I love chaos.
Oh, it has, but this is where the big boards get the teams really just go, all right, cool. So we have PBJ at 15. I'm just saying the scenario here. They have PBJ at 15, and he's already probably going to slide to the second and stuff like that. This is where this begins. So first of all, I want to say thank you, Josh, because you have let me now completely lay out all year my ideal Charlotte scenario of Mark Williams and Ochai Agbaji. I don't know if you did that on purpose because that's what you ultimately want to happen. So with the 15...
No, I think Branham's a great fit for Cleveland.
Okay, I'm taking Ochai Agbaji because the Charlotte Hornets now leave the draft with my best 2 fits for them. I've said it all year. I'm going to keep saying it unless they move the picks like we said. If they decide, let's say they strike out on a couple of those deals, etc. Like you said, like they're not going to get swindled. I think they take the best 2 guys that they can get, and both of them can contribute 20-plus minutes immediately.
I wish they would keep both picks because I love that so much for both. Like if they got both of those guys, but I also understand if Charlotte's saying, "Hey, we want to win," and I love that they hired Kenny Atkinson. As much as I wanted to see D'Antoni and LaMelo, I was like, give Kenny Atkinson could coach. He needs another shot. He got run out unfairly in Brooklyn. So I thought that was a great hire for them because I think Atkinson gets teams to play really tough. And you know, getting Mark Williams and Ochai would be ready to rock and play nasty. And those are some veteran rookies. They get the right mentality. So we'll see what they do, but I would love those 2. That would be my dream fit as well, Trevor. I agree with you.
All right, so for what it's worth, we have now officially taken every single person in my big board lottery, or like So
love this.
Like I said, I had a feeling that at least from my thoughts so far that this is where it would get weird, and for me it is for sure. Let's go ahead and keep rolling because we have now spent 55 minutes on the lottery. Now let's just I don't want to say rapid fire, but let's just, this is where we think. We've been thinking about it forever. We've spent all year doing this. Like, this is what we do. Why would we take guys' places from now on, obviously?
Yeah, let's speed it up. I'm just having way too much fun with you guys. So I was being quick.
Atlanta's fun. This is weird. This is kind of that.
This is where it gets weird. This is where it gets really
How do you improve the team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. I don't love it, but I'm going to say Tari Eason goes here.
This is who you would take. You would take Tari there?
Oh, she had to throw that one back at me.
I'm just making sure because I don't hate the pick. I don't. I really don't.
Who would I? Okay, no. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to go back.
Oh, man.
Just want to be clear here. I'm like, would you take him at 16 if you're the Atlanta Hawks? If you're Travis Schlenk, who do you take here? And Landry Fields, by the way. Shout out to Landry Fields for getting
shout out Landry Fields.
That was awesome.
I was talking about that with someone the other day, and I was like, man, my man has been on a heater the last couple of years. Yeah, I would take Tari Eason there.
I figured you would say that.
Yeah.
Double down. There we go.
Sorry. I'm going to just say it.
Man,
you're like, sorry, I wanted to make sure.
Broke Trevor's heart because he's not going to the Rockets there.
No, yeah, I'm moving it on.
Yeah, I was gonna 100% I was gonna take him because of the Seattle.
I have the Rockets pick, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. See, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, we had James Piercy on a few weeks ago from Dream Shake, and he was like, "Yeah, Tari Eason," and then basically laid out all these Seattle guys, Paolo and the coach and the GM, and all. Basically, like half their roster is from Seattle apparently, and I didn't know that. So Tari Eason would be a great fit for that reason and that reason alone. So. Number 16 was now made, and that was Atlanta. And you took. I'm making sure I have him. I'm marking off because I don't want to accidentally be the guy that takes Tari Eason 3 picks later.
Yeah, I've been doing
he
the
was
same
already
thing.
picked.
I'm already nervous.
Who is 7? Josh, yeah, go right ahead. Rip the Band-Aid off.
So, as much as the fact that as a Carolina fan, I hate this guy.
Good start. We're off to a good start.
Yeah,
I already
as
know
a
what
Carolina
he's
fan, I hate this guy.
I know who he's picking.
But
a
lot based off our conversation with James, Houston really needs someone that's a dog that really gets after it on defense, is going to do the dirty work. Everybody throws around that got that dog in him thing. You know, like someone that's like, he's like diving on the floor with the loose balls. He's going to do 100%. The dirty work, get things done. Because Alperen Şengün's not doing that. And I'm going to take Jeremy Sohan.
All right.
Oh my gosh, he was still on the board?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I checked him and he didn't get taken? Okay, whoops. Yep.
So where would you? All right. Well, then I'll ask 2 questions. Where would you have taken him?
I would have taken him for Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's
so
all right.
So he wouldn't have gone in the lottery, is what you're saying. For you, you wouldn't have taken him in the lottery.
I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna go in the top 10.
Really?
Okay, so then this is great. You're lobbing these up for me.
Wow.
Yeah, my question. I had 2 questions because I knew this was going to take.
And I don't know who it is, but that's a lot. I've heard it a lot. I was like,
wow.
I'm getting all these names. Oh, go ahead, Trevor.
No, you're good. For the sake of you gave this. I want to hear this thing because I knew we would take a long time because this is a mock draft.
Yeah.
I had 2 questions. It was the AJ Griffin question, where his best fit is, and the other one is Portland potentially going to take him at 7?
I don't know.
That's my question is, could he be taken there? Absolutely, I think. Because they want a win now guy.
There's a lot of names that have been like, he's not getting out of the top 10. I'm like, guys, I'm hearing 15 guys aren't getting out of the top 10. So who is it?
Stop doing that. Yeah.
Stop it. But the bold ones I've got was like Sohan, Mathurin.
Yeah.
Who else did I get?
A couple of guys that you could realistically see there.
Yeah.
7 just seems really high to me.
And then Zhang was the other one. Zhang was the last one I got. And I was like, okay, is that the one that's just like the one person saying it? Or is that... But Sohan, I think, had a lot of fans. And this is just kind of like the Patrick Williams vibes. Everyone's getting drunk on the idea of like, okay, this is that versatile guy with the upside that's really young and can make an impact all over the place. So, like, I think New Orleans, Portland would shock me a little bit because I just think they need a little bit more of a guy that's like could give Dame a boost. Now, maybe Sohan could be that guy, but I think Sohan, like, I still love him as going to New Orleans somehow. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see if it happens, but I can't believe I just had him on the board for Atlanta. Sorry, Hawks fans, all you guys listening. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I gave the Hawks fans a really big compliment on our last show, so they get a couple of jabs here and there too. So
I'm happy because I really wanted to make that pick for Houston.
I mean, wow! If they left with Paulo and Sohan,
yeah,
I love Houston. I'm buying jerseys. Okay. Trevor, you're up?
18, yeah, Chicago. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this one because this is another team that I just I'm going to hate every single thought process I have with this team because I really don't know who at this point in the draft where they, like, what would be a good thing because they played Tony Bradley too much last year, but there's not a big man. I'm like, this is who they're taking right here because, like, Walker Kessler's ridiculous, that kind of thing. So, I don't know, man. See...
I'm proud of you guys for caring. I'm proud. Some people just be like, whatever. Like, no, you guys care at least.
So the problem for me, and I don't want to spoil my big, you know what? Screw it. My big board's going to be out by the time I say this. In this range, I have Hardy, Ty, and I don't think either of them make any sense because I think the Kobe White would be the only situation maybe where it does. So this is kind of the lazy what I would do pick. I can't see E.J. Liddell moving any further down for me. I like him a lot. If I'm the Bulls, I'm taking E.J. Liddell, even though the fit's very weird, and I just don't like it. And they're already... Like, he can play bigger than 6'8". I understand that, but I would be naive to pick anything else. So I'm going to pick E.J. Liddell.
I think that's a great fit.
I don't feel lovely about it, but I thank you.
Well, I think he'd go there, or I would have taken him... I think Minnesota's probably his floor.
Refresh my memory, by the way. I'm double checking who I have so I don't make that mistake. Like I said, 16 was Tari, right? And then
Tari, Sohan, Liddell.
All right,
which is a fun trio. And then you just took my picks, and now I don't know what to do. So
all right.
Go again.
Go right ahead. Let's go ahead and keep rolling because Minnesota was what was mocked all year for him. I think he's better than 19, which is why I took him at 18.
I'm going to shake things up for Minnesota. I'm going to take Dalen Terry to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay. I'm going to get them backup point guard with some defensive switchability.
Wow.
Gets to learn under Patrick Beverly for a year about how to be a complete lunatic because Terry already can be that. And I kind of like that depth of, who knows what they're going to do with D'Angelo Russell, but Terry has that ability to kind of run an offense and be a playmaker. So it's a little bit of an outside the box one, but yeah, we'll shake things up a little bit. I would take Terry there. I also wouldn't be shocked if he goes before this.
So, I mean, I'm going to hold my thoughts there. But what I am going to say is I want to know, you're going to speak for all of your guys that know something, because I would think most of you have him a lot higher than the average draft consumer.
Yeah.
So answer me this. And I had a conversation with, what's his name? Ryan Hammer today about this.
Yes.
He's going to be on hopefully for our draft recap. Tell me why, and I just want to do this. I hate to do this now because then we can just fly through some of these picks. I just have to understand this because I'm struggling with Terry. And Josh, maybe you can chime in too if you like Terry. I can't separate Terry from the type of prospect versus who Terry is. Does that make sense? Like, I think we're falling in love with the type of prospect versus Terry himself. So I guess 30-second elevator pitch me on why Dalen Terry is better than the type of prospect he already is, who we fall in love with.
He's just he's 6'7", but he's a point guard, but he's 6'7". So everyone's like, you watch him and you're like, okay, he looks like a 6'4" point guard, and then you realize he's 6'7" with switchability and length, and you're like, okay. but he can take over a game without scoring. Like he's an energetic, he's the diving on the ball or on the floor for a loose ball. He's the makes the steal and goes down and dunks it and just starts screaming at the crowd. The crowd goes crazy for him. But he's also just a gifted playmaker. Like he's got really good special vision. So he'd be a guy that, like, while the offensive game continues to develop, he can make plays, he can make the right reads. He's a great ball handler. If he was supposed to go back to college, if he went back, he would have probably been a lottery pick.
I think I said this to you last time. I said I was sold on him going back to college. There was 3 guys. It was him for me, and it was also Max Christie. And I think both of them could have definitely benefited from it. But regardless, thank you for thank you for making me feel a little bit better, because I keep seeing all these people. There are a lot of people that like him, and I think it might be that situation where we get caught up sometimes. But I know you guys are really high on him, and I trust you guys' opinions. So.
He had to have had a outstanding pre-draft to not go back, because I think he was going to skyrocket. So that's why I'm saying, like, I love him. I have him 21st because I don't think
that's crazy.
No, like some of those guys has him higher, and I don't doubt that. That's fine. It's just because it's also a weird point guard class. So it's like, if you like him the most, you're going to have him high. And I just could see this is the pre-draft idea of, like, you're drafting a guy a year early to develop with so much upside. And I don't love that term, but I understand what everyone gets at when they're talking about it. So this is like the Josh Primo, where it's like, okay, you took him and you're going to put him in the G League and develop him for a year and then unleash him hopefully in the next year. But I still think Dalen Terry could be a backup as a rookie.
Yeah. I think there's some other guys guard-wise that are a good fit there too. So
right, exactly.
Yeah, so
what would you do if you were Pop?
I'm going to have to reach down my board for San Antonio, because everything I see on my board now is guards, and I just don't see it as a need for the Spurs. I just don't see.
You sure about that?
I don't like and so I have to look at this. I don't know what this guy's fit is or where he goes. I think he could go second round, or he could somehow go in the lottery, because none of it makes any sense. But I'm going to take Nikola Jovic in San Antonio, because I think that this is the organization that gets the most out of guys like this when we see them in the lottery. I don't know. I mean, or in the draft talk. I don't know how you develop this guy, but I feel like San Antonio somehow knows. And it gives them a very bit, like, he's listed as a small forward. He's 6'10". You can play him at the 4.
He's literally Franz Wagner 2.0.
Well, not serious. Nearly as developed. Not nearly.
Oh, no, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
But yeah, I would give him Nikola Jovic at 20.
All right, I'm just mad, and I muted myself so I didn't say anything on this clean podcast. But I wanted to make the joke that I had Jovic available at 21 and then not actually take him at 21. I wasn't going to do it. To be completely clear, it was just to be funny. But I think he did actually have a really, really good shout out to Katie Wingett posting that TikTok of Jovic's workout. He looked unbelievable in his workout. I mean, for the Nuggets specifically, I thought that was hilarious.
He's the memeable Pop guy, right?
100%.
Like, he's the one that crack jokes about, the guy that Popovich falls in love with. So
I'll say this 2 ways. This is who I would have taken if I was San Antonio, and this is who I would have taken as Denver as well. And I think this guy is great for both these teams. And I'm taking Kendall Brown. I have Kendall Brown, who's in the pre-draft process, pre-tournament. He was lottery. He won't leave the lottery guy for a little while there, and now he might not leave the first. He might leave the first round, depending on some of these teams' thoughts. So. I value Kendall Brown. This is a spoiler, like I said, for some of these picks based on big boards, but like I said, the timing will work out. Kendall Brown is a lot higher on my board than I think most of the entire draft population. So Kendall Brown, for me, I value his potential moving forward. Just as an offensive player as a whole, I don't need him to be that. I just need him to be a really good – you're in the 20s. I need him to be a really good, scrappy – I mean, him and Sohan just project for me so similarly, so that's why I can't see the Sohan thing so high. So I'm kind of glad they both kind of went in the similar range in this, because I think that actually does happen. I do think they both go in a similar range, and I value what he can bring to the Nuggets. Just basically being Aaron Gordon, but not asking him to score. Just Aaron Gordon has obviously been able to make strides as a defensive player recently, and I think that he's been good for Denver. So,
okay, I'm on the board with Memphis, correct?
Correct. Oh my gosh, does Memphis really have that pick that high?
Wow.
I keep forgetting that they have 22. I keep thinking, are you already at 29? I'm like, no, that's not.
Oh boy, where am I going here? There's a number of directions I want to go. I'm gonna take Ty Washington here for the Grizzlies. Get him a backup behind Ja Morant. I also just think Memphis would be in a spot where they'd say, "Hey, what have we got? Let's take the value. Let's get another nice piece." That seems that they know how to do that stuff really well. They're pretty good at the draft. So yeah, there's another place I would have wanted to go, but I like the idea of getting Ty there a little bit better. So
I like it. I'm a lot higher on Ty than most. Shocker, he's not where he was in my original board for before the tournament. Before the tournament, he was. I still have it actually right here. He was 6th on my board before the tournament. That obviously is not the case, but I do like Ty, and I'm happy with any fit that gets a backup point guard. I'm also happy with some places where he might actually be able to play some more than we probably would hope. But
yes,
I do like that any place he can be a good backup and learn from a good point guard. Where are we now? Goodness gracious, this thing is getting full.
23.
Yeah,
Philly.
23 to Philly. I'm glad that you're getting all the.
Yeah. I thought this was gonna be tough, but like looking at Philly's roster, they could really use another bench ball handler. That's really all I'm going with on this one.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the other point guard around this area. Go Kennedy Chandler to Philadelphia. Give him someone else to run the ball up court when Tyrese Maxey's not on the court, and when James Harden doesn't want to play on ball, basically. Assuming he's still in Philly, I guess. There's no telling when or where James Harden will play these days. So, yeah, I'll go Kennedy Chandler to the Sixers.
I'm intrigued by that because of the Jaden Springer thing, right? Because Springer's still there. Am I correct? He's still there. Yep. That was the kind of a similar guy, similar size. I'm intrigued by that. I don't think that's what I would do or where they would go. But, I mean, at that point, if they don't think Springer works out, but people got to realize Springer's still 19.7 years old. I say 19.7 because he's younger than most guys in this draft.
I also have Kennedy Chandler as a top 20 guy, and
I figured that's what you were going to say, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't want him, like, at 23. I think he's one of the highest value guys left on the board as well.
Totally fair. I listened to you guys' show, so I know what you think about Kennedy Chandler. Anything that might have come around or changed really quick on Kennedy Chandler for you?
No, I could see a little run on point guards going, especially if some guys go a little later than expected. I like Kennedy Chandler. I think some team's going to still be buying in. I think this is the right range for him, where once it's Memphis or Denver, and then if you get to Milwaukee and he's still on the board, I think he'd be too intriguing to pass up. So I like that pick.
Yeah, the Milwaukee thing is interesting. That's where we are now. And that's who I have. I would not have taken Kennedy Chandler from Milwaukee. I do like it. I agree to moving forward, getting a good backup point guard that could maybe start eventually, that kind of thing. I really like Ty, and I'm really shocked that you took him at 22. Not shocked, but I guess I'm glad I do a best 3 or 4 guys at each pick for each team. That's how I prepared for this. This is not the guy I was going to take here. Man, see, now I'm second guessing myself. Dang it. Okay.
It happens. That's what happens when you do the mocks that don't go with the consensus all the time. You like to change it up.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. I have a feeling if I don't take the guy here that I was going to take for Denver at 21, I think you're taking him next. And I want him to be there at my 27. That's really where I'm thinking here, because I'm thinking as a GM, I'm like, I know how Tyler's going to pick it. I think he's going to take this guy next. And that's exactly, I'm dead serious. That's what I think is going to happen.
Right.
So you're trading up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably. Honestly, I really think this is what would happen. I think I would trade up if I was Miami for this pick.
And if I was Milwaukee, I probably would have traded up to Memphis's pick. It's
so close. My goodness, I'm gonna hate myself for this. I really am. If I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, Jaden Hardy, I think Jaden Hardy's an unbelievable pick, and here's why. 2 big reasons. One, kind of a great area to learn. You're in a great organization. He's just one of those guys that maybe need a little bit of learning. He was obviously in the G League Ignite program. People may not love that program as much as others, but he just first half to second half showed a big improvement. I think he's going to be one of those guys. Point number 2 here. Talk about a guy who, not every draft has these guys, but the guy that goes, can y'all really let me fall to 24? Like, really? Like, 24? Come on. Yeah, and he goes to Milwaukee, and he gets to play like that. Oh, man, Milwaukee's already a contender, and they get a guy that plays like 15 minutes, gets a couple steals in a playoff game. I mean, the potential for me for Hardy, and I don't think it's the perfect fit, to be clear. I just think if I'm running the Milwaukee Bucks, that's who I'm taking, even though I think there's a guy I should have probably taken, and I'm already second-guessing myself as I'm talking about this. So we're going to move on before I lose my mind.
No, I like that. I still think Hardy, I think your point about him being the guy of like, you guys let me fall this far, I 100% think it's going to happen. And I also think he's going to go and shock people. I think he's got the potential to be the steal of the draft.
Speaking of shock people, I actually have him at 15 on my big board. So
I have him around there. Where do I have him? I have him.
So again, why I was second guessing myself. Right. Josh, I know. I had him.
This
14.
is the range I had Jaden Hardy in.
That's okay. A lot of people have him here, so I understand it.
Yeah.
I have him 17th, and I feel like I'm cheating on him. That's how, because I love him. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, well, in that he actually technically only went, and I know that's not how big boards work, but he technically only fell one spot for me because I had him at 14 pre-tournament, so I think it's hilarious how all that shakes out, and then all of a sudden he only falls one spot. So.
Right.
24, I went with Hardy. So where are we? 25 is
San Antonio for me.
Yeah.
Again.
Did we all just get a crack at San Antonio? We did. That's awesome. We did. We all three got a crack at San Antonio. This is fun.
I'm going to take, I know they've got 90 guards, but I'm going to take one of my favorite guys. I'm going to take Jalen Williams of Santa Clara. So
I think it's a good move.
That's my guy. I wanted to take him. Gosh. I wanted to take him. Yeah.
God, this is where I was at. I second guessed myself. I
wanted to take him I almost took him at 19. I think he's.
Me too.
I love him. Yeah. So.
I was considering him for the Spurs pick at 20. So.
Yeah. I mean, he's just one of those guys. I think he's going to go much earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, to tell you the truth, guys, I thought about taking him at 16 to Atlanta. It's just. I like his game a lot. I could see him going much higher just because he's got that versatility on everything. So Spurs would say, we don't care that we have all these guards. We'll take another one. We'll figure it out. So
we'll take a guard that, by the way, basically has the wingspan of a power forward.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Sure.
We'll be fine.
A do-it-all guard.
Yeah.
Well, for me, now that I'm kind of mad. I'm even more mad, actually, because I should have taken him from Milwaukee because, man, he would have been awesome in Milwaukee. The other thing, too, is I think Josh might have taken him at Dallas, and then I was going to take him at Miami. He was not sliding past 27 for me. He was gone at Miami. I just thought I could get risky and be like, I'm the GM of two different teams here, so maybe I trade between the two, whatever. I can't do that, obviously. But that was where I was trying to. Oh my God, I muted myself because I got up and walked away for a minute.
Someone would go up for him. I think someone would trade up to get him. So maybe, like you guys said, Dallas would be a great fit. So maybe they try to go get him. Miami too. So.
God, I'm so mad. Okay,
it's okay, Trevor. It's all right because I probably would have taken Hardy if you took Jalen. I would have taken Hardy. So we could flop.
He was actually
another world. We would have switched.
I actually did the Kendall Brown pick. I did the Kendall Brown pick on the fly because he was in the Nuggets area. I had him on that 3 or 4 list.
Yeah.
But I had Williams first, and I just like Kendall Brown's fit in Denver a lot more than I should, and I think he's going to go a lot higher, so I would have taken him there. All right, whatever.
Dallas. Man. Since Jalen Williams isn't on the board anymore.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a player I think has a pretty similar profile. This is more of a pick for what he can do on defense, but I think he's got some good offensive movement. We're going to go Marjon Beauchamp to Dallas.
Okay.
26. I think he's going to have good length. He's going to do some stuff on defense. He's posted a lot of do-it-all stats with G League Ignite, where he's getting points. I mean, but he's also getting boards. He's dishing out the ball. He's playing good defense. He's got a 7'1" wingspan for a shooting guard listed as. I think it'd be a good spot for Dallas to go
here. I like it.
I am just so perplexed now. I really am.
Really? I thought you were big on Marjon Beauchamp.
No, not about him. It's about the next pick. I have the next pick, and I was taking Jaden Hardy in Miami no matter what happened tonight. And then I changed my own mind and took him at 24 with my other team. This is where conflict of interest just gets way too confusing. So now I genuinely have no idea, and I'm glad I did some kind of scouting for this. So, okay. I only like this pick. I love how I'm prefacing this pick.
Yeah, a good start. Off to a good start.
Right. Terrible.
Only because.
because I like this guy's offensive potential moving forward, and we can play a guessing game if we want, but they clearly don't want to play Duncan Robinson anymore, and they paid him a lot of money. Maybe they try to move the contract eventually. I think this guy's a better player, scorer. He can kind of fill that Duncan Robinson, what they thought was going to be, role. And I've come around on him more than I ever have. I got to see him in person this year, too, which was really cool. I'm going to go with Bryce McGowan's.
I like that.
If you had asked me to do this 30 days ago, he was like way further down. So I'm glad we did this now, this close to it, because I came around on him.
I like that pick.
Him quite a bit. That was that triple overtime game, right?
Yeah, quadruple overtime, actually.
Four.
I was at that game and worth every dollar for the $22 bottom bowl ticket I got. That was ridiculous. In Raleigh. That was best possible outcome I could have had. It was my fiance's first ever state basketball game, and she got the full cardiac experience.
Amazing.
So anyway, enough on that. Bryce McGowan's was awesome. I think he got hurt, though, in that game, and then he only really came back in overtime because he, I guess, sat long enough. It was a weird game. That was ridiculous. All right, so double check and make sure I didn't miss anybody here. I think I've marked everybody off that has been taken because you took Beauchamp, who I had a little lower. So, all right, I think we're down to the final three here. My goodness, we're already here. Yeah,
crazy.
I was thinking 130 for this pod, and we're at 121, so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
We could spend a little time on the last three. Just make sure you leave room for your plugs.
No, that's good. Boy. I still love this fit. I can see them going a different direction, but I'm going to take Christian Brown to the Golden State Warriors. I still love that fit. I know that they got some wings. They got some backcourt depth, but I think just getting another guy that is a real gamer, I think that might be just too intriguing a value to pass up for a team like Golden State. So, yeah, I like that fit still. They probably won't do it now because I like it, but,
Funny how that works, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
Shocker, spoiler, whatever you want to say, I don't have him in the first round, so
that's okay.
I'm not, I know that could you like him enough that you would be willing to take him right there, because really at this point it's just whatever people like, obviously. So, Josh, any thoughts on him? As you got to see a lot of him.
29. I thought it was around the right area for Christian Brown.
See, Josh is smart. I get it. No.
Josh also got to see 40 minutes of this guy, so of course he has him in his first round. He got to see. I'm just kidding.
You're outnumbered here. Remember that.
This is true. All right, 29. Man. You get the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a fun one. This is where I actually forgot. Again, they had 22, so funny enough, you get to take what I thought was their only first-round pick for a little while.
This is a tougher one for me.
It is. It's very tough.
But I think we can add a little versatility on the wing position for Memphis here, and I'll give the ACC a little more love and take Jake LaRavia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let the Demon Deacons add another first-round pick to their history.
Not a guy who I had there either. That's on. This is where it gets fun. This is good. No, I like it.
He's a do-it-all. Well, he was a power forward at Wake, but at 6'8", he's probably going to be a small forward in the NBA. But he's a do-it-all wing.
I don't hate the Golden State fit either. By the way, at 27, or 28, I don't hate the Golden State fit there for him.
It's a good one there too.
He's that's a guy that's rumored that they think he's got a promise.
I think so too. Oh. I really do, because he stayed in, and it was a lot of. Or I guess was he a senior? No, he wasn't a senior, right? My goodness, he was a junior. So he stayed in, and there's a lot of guys that I'm kind of suspicious of, and we've heard like the Jovic rumor of the possible draft promise in the teens. I texted them, him and Grayson to that.
Yeah, you told me you thought Jovic had a top 10 promise. I'm like,
that's
probably from Jovic's agent.
No, teens promise. Sorry. Look, there's a lot of those where you kind of go, somebody has one. Who is it?
Right.
we know there's one that we don't know.
10, but
it must have mistyped it, because I definitely teens is where I heard. So, and that's the thing. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of these weird promise things. I know Caleb Houston is one that was rumored in the 27, 28, 29, 30 range, and I still think that could absolutely happen. I think somebody could take him there. So maybe like Miami or whatever, but. The Juwan Howard fix, I think is what someone called it.
Yes.
Juwan Howard fix. Was that you that did that? You didn't
Metcalf.
Metcalf
is convinced on that.
Like somebody I listened to said that.
But his story is weird enough to where it's got to be something like that, because
right.
just not participate, like just to pull out of all the stuff that quick is really alarming. So, or just kind of like, whoa, okay, someone got a big promise. So,
yep.
Who knows? We'll find out who it is, I guess.
All right. Well, I don't know if this is an honor or a dishonor to go last, but I'm going to go here at 30. And this is the only pick that has been moved since we planned this podcast.
Yeah.
So, for those that might have missed the trade, I'll lay it out really quick. Denver now picks at 30 for some reason. They got rid of the JaMychal Green contract. That was obviously part of it. But via OKC by way of Phoenix is, I think, how they word it properly in the draft cycle here. They call it via the team that did it, but then it was by way of Phoenix. So, funny enough, the same guy I was going to take for Denver and Oklahoma City here, or who I think would be a good fit for both, is who I would have taken. My goodness. I'm going to do this, though. So we talked about...
Last pick of the first round.
Yeah, we talked about this, and then I have a question to end us out. So we talked about earlier the Bryce McGowan's game I went to. Traquavion Smith also played in that game. So I just want to go ahead and pull this up. I wore this on purpose. People are going to see this. This is going to be on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I'm wearing my NC State basketball thing because I was taking Traquavion Smith here if he was on the board. 100% either Denver or OKC. That was what was going to happen, obviously.
But he came back. A state player came back. Like, it's a big deal.
I know.
He got
And look,
another good year.
We spent way too long on him last time with Tyler, so I wanted to at least make the joke and make the meme pick and be like, haha, I'm going to take the guy that I actually do think is a first-round grade. So this is also just me being upset. Who I'm actually going to take here, if it was OKC, this was going to be Patrick Baldwin Jr. But unfortunately, because it's the Denver Nuggets, this is what I would do. I would take Christian Coloco.
That's a good pick.
I feel like it might be 10 spots too high, but
I don't know if it is.
I know that you've said that before, and I can't figure out why I feel terrible about this. He's so talented, but yet he's rated by some people behind Walker Kessler, who also is so talented. I'm not saying that's a bad choice, but it was between Kessler and who, by the way, I actually have Kessler 2 spots above Coloco, so that's just me. I think Coloco just projects a little bit better, and I think that Denver wants that. I think Walker Kessler would be a great fit right away. Like, he'd be like, all right, cool, just throw him in there 10 minutes, make a couple blocks, be happy, right? It's just the Coloco. I like the potential, and I just went with the potential pick there. I don't feel good about it, but
I like him a lot. I think if he went to a team where he was clearly going to be potentially like a rotation big early on, he could thrive. Like, I think Golden State could use him. Like, if Golden State thinks Wiseman's going to be fine next year, obviously they got Looney, but Coloco would be great insurance, you know, like just as a backup to come off the bench and do his role at a high level. So I like that pick. There's a lot of people that are just Coloco's just like, you either love him or you're kind of out on him or lower. And, you know, I could see Walker Kessler ending up going before Coloco. But I prefer Coloco. I like his game a lot.
All right, so I have a couple things I want to do. So I'm going to recap really quick. I'm going to very quickly read these picks from beginning to end. I'm not going to say where they went. I'm just going to roll with what the order was.
Okay.
We went with Chet, Jabari, Paolo, Keegan Murray at 4, Jaden Ivey, Dyson Daniels to 6, 7, Benedict Mathurin, 8, Shaden Sharp, Jalen Duren, Johnny Davis, A.J. Griffin, Ousmane Dieng, Mark Williams were now towards the end of the lottery. Branham went 14 to Cleveland. We have 15, Ochai Agbaji, Tari Eason, Jeremy Sohan, E.J. Liddell, Dalen Terry, Nikola Jovic, Kendall Brown, Ty Washington, Kennedy Chandler, Jaden Hardy, Jalen Williams. Man, we went really guard. Marjon Beauchamp, Bryce McGowan. Wow, we went straight guard for a little while at 20, basically 21 to 27.
That range,
Holy cow.
it feels like the forwards disappear and it's nothing but guards.
Yeah. Bryce McGowan's, Christian Braun, I said it right, Jake Laravia, and Christian Coloco. The question I have is who the
Christian Brown, I think.
Yeah, all right. I said Brown. Did I? Did I say Braun again? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I've been doing it either. Yeah, I've been doing it the whole year. I've been going back and forth, so don't worry about it. At least, half the time you get it right. That's how I say it.
That's whatever. Who are we? Let's all pick a guy that we really should have taken probably in the first round. Or like maybe somebody we second-guessed ourselves on who ended up not actually getting picked. Who's somebody that you were like, I should have taken him, and then maybe where? I have mine, and I think it's for me personally in my rankings, it's very easy. But I'm curious, you guys first. Who is somebody you're shocked that you didn't take, or maybe shocked that didn't go?
I would have taken Max Christie in the first round. Looking back at my board,
and who? I'm curious where.
Where? That's a good question.
Try my best.
Maybe problem is I like the other pick too.
Yeah.
Miami or Memphis?
That's what I was going to say. That was good. Both of them are good there. That would have been good for Christy. Josh?
I don't have one that I would have picked differently. I have two guys that I think I have as first-round grades. It just wasn't a good fit late. Kessler I have as a late first-round grade, and Blake Wesley.
Yeah,
that was mine.
First-round grade. Yeah.
Glad you mentioned a different one because Blake Wesley was mine as well. So I would have absolutely taken him at. I'll just go ahead and I'll just list them. So at any point, I would have taken him at 18 Chicago. I would have taken him 24 to Milwaukee, 27 to Miami. Those three. Those where I would have taken Blake Wesley. Any of those picks I think would have been great for him. I do think he is still going to go in the first round. I know there's been we've said it enough today, but like he might not make it out of the top 14. Like I get it. He might be one of those guys. Honestly, he really might. And he was for a while, and I get it. So I see what's there. I've come around on him. Did a little bit of deep dive on his defensive potential, and I really enjoyed what I saw. So maybe that's where I'm coming around. But that was my question. With no time to spare, go ahead and plug away. I know you're all over the place. Obviously, you just got back from the finals and all that stuff. Go right ahead. You have however many minutes you want. Go right ahead.
No. I mean, I'll be quick because I don't like talking about myself. But I'm at Tyler_Rucker on Twitter, and you can find me at NoCeilingsNBA.com. And I just want to thank Trevor and Josh for having me on again. This was an absolute blast, and Godspeed, getting ready for the draft. I know it's going to be a long couple days, probably a long week coming up, but I'm very excited and excited for it to be after, and summer league around the corner, and then excited to throw my phone into a lake and not talk basketball for like 3 weeks. But other than that, I'm kidding. But other than that, it's finally here. I'm excited. Feel like a kid on Christmas.
All right, Josh, my last question for him on the way out is, do the Celtics pull it off, or do the Warriors take care of business in Game 6 or Game 7? Honest answer. I know you grew up a Celtics fan. I get that. But what do you think actually happens?
I think they're going to win Game 6, and then I think Game 7 is just whoever shows up. Yeah. Get after it. But I thought this is the part of the series where you're a home team. You better take care of business. You got one game to take care of business. So I think Boston's had back-to-back bad games, and they got punched in the mouth both games. And I think it's like, okay, you're going to go home. You better take care of business. And if you want to win a title, you got to go through the toughest part. And they just did this against Milwaukee. They just won Game 7 against Miami, so they're probably like, hey, we feel comfortable now because we've been here before. Yep. But the Warriors are a different team, though, because they've been there. They've been seeing everything, so I'm being optimistic. I just don't want to lose 3 straight. But, what do you guys think? Hit me with it before I get off. What do you guys think?
Oh, I said on the podcast yesterday basically what you said. I'm really confident in a Celtics Game 6 win, and then I think you just have a thrilling 7.
Yeah.
I said Boston 7 at the beginning of the series, so I'm just going to stay there.
I said Boston 6. I'm going to stick to that. I'm just kidding.
I wish we were having that conversation.
I'm glad that we all thought that was funny because I'm really mad about it.
I am too.
Boston, I do think Boston wins this series. We'll talk about that because we'll talk about it Monday because we are Monday, Tuesday recorders, and the series will be over on Sunday. So I'm thrilled to recap this unbelievable season, first full season since 2019. So just God, it feels like a marathon. I forgot.
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. It does very much.
All right, fellas, this was fun. Real quick, at 2Pointers on Twitter and TikTok. It's also Instagram and Facebook. It's the 2Pointers Podcast. This episode will be up on YouTube as well. So thank you, Tyler, for wearing clothes. I'm just kidding. You came presentable. We appreciate it. This will be our second episode on YouTube. We'll put up the official announcement for it. YouTube goes live this week, so we look forward to that. So please subscribe. And man, what a great quote end to the pre-draft cycle, because it's just going to be a wild week. Josh, this has been Draft Chat. I'm Trevor.
I'm Josh. We will see you on the normal podcast.